Leadership, uh, I get attached to Indian cricket a lot through leadership, through my captaincy skills. And one word or one statement of one of my very famous and dear colleague, Rahul Dravid, I liked on television after I finished cricket. And when everybody asked him about Sourav Ganguly, the captain, and what difference he made to Indian cricket, he said that don't forget his 20,000 runs as a player, which is different as a captain. So I said, well done, Jam, at least you recognize me as a player, because all I get to hear is about leadership, captaincy. I could bat and bowl a bit as well. Obviously we have a lot of leaders in this room and have been previously in different functions like this where I have had to speak about leadership. And we are all leaders in different aspects of life. And why I'm saying this is because all of us, whether it was Sourav Ganguly when he played test matches for India, or when he captained India, whether most of you who are CEOs and chairmen and bosses of your companies and different groups of people, you don't become a leader in one day. You don't get to that position in one day. All of us, I became captain after playing 5 years for India, and I'm sure most of you have spent years and years in your companies, in different companies, to get to where you are. And I'm a firm believer when I see this tagline today that which we have, winning through transformative leadership. As much as I understand and believe that leadership is something which is very important in any team effort. As much as cricket is a team game, running an organization is a team game. A lot of your skills as a leader, you learn when you come in new. And I can say that from my experience. When I first came into international cricket in the year 1991, I was just 17 and a half years of age, and I went on to the tour of Australia. And I remember the first day we landed in Western Australia, in Perth. India weren't great travelers those days, and we used to travel in Australia once every 7 years, 8 years. So by the time we got used to the pace and bounce of the pitch, the series was over. And I remember going to Australia in 1991 and landing in Perth for our first side game. And invariably India would go to Australia and they would put you the first game of the series on the quickest pitches in the world, which was the Wacker at that time. We landed and I came down to the hotel room, down to the lobby, and I met one of the greatest players India has produced for a long time. And he was looking for company for dinner. And I was sitting at one corner of the lobby, and he said, "Come, young man, let's have dinner." I said, "Fine." I couldn't say no. I didn't know whether it was fine or not, but I couldn't say no. And we walked along the pavement of Western Australia, Perth, which is a beautiful city. It's different from the Australian cities. It's a bit warmer. It's on the seaside. Most of you must have visited Perth. And as I walked down the pavement and entered into a Chinese restaurant for dinner, we were talking about cricket, talking about the team, and the first thing he told me was, "I didn't feel that you should have been on this side." And I didn't know what to say. He said, "You're an exceptional player, but this is a tough tour." Maybe he said it in a good sense. Maybe he meant good for me, saying that, you come and make a debut in India where the wickets are slower, wickets are a bit lower, and life's a lot easier. He said that we should have gotten an experienced player, but try and make the most of what you learn out of this tour. We were in Australia for 3.5 months. We didn't win anything. And we hardly managed to take test matches to 5 days, except in Adelaide, which was a flat belter and pitch which didn't have much bounce. And those words in my ears echoed for the next 3 months. Sometimes I felt miserable about it. Sometimes I felt that it should not have been said to a 17-year-old boy. But I think when I came back from the tour of Australia and didn't play for India for the next 4 years, it really helped me. You realize that it was a world where you had to be tough. It was a world where it was once you crossed that line, once you went onto the 22 yards, it was about you and the bowler. And I think that influenced a lot when I became captain of India. I came back in the national side in 1996 and went on to become captain of India in the year 2000. And that's the first and foremost thing I learned about leadership, because everybody wants to be a leader, everybody wants to captain the side, whichever side they play, the cricket side, the football side. It's a recognition of your contribution to the game, to the team, and your performances. So the first thing when I became a leader, I thought about that day of mine, and I came into a situation where there were young boys in the side. We were going through a little bit of a rough time in Indian cricket, and we needed to pick young players. I don't know whether that helped or whether it, without my knowledge, created an atmosphere for me to create a team. But the first thing I realized that if I have to be a good leader, I will have to identify the right talent. I will have to make these players feel comfortable in this dressing room. Because when you see young players walking into a dressing room and they look around, and we had a star-studded dressing room, the likes of Tendulkar, Dravid, Lakshman, Kumble, who were great champions. To build a good team through your leadership skills, you had to create an atmosphere for those young boys. Because when they come in, they don't talk much, they look around what's happening in the dressing room. And I'm sure it's exactly in your corporate offices when you hire young professionals, all educated professionals from various IITs, various management schools, and they come under the leadership of some of you so experienced in this world. It's about watching. It's about watching what's happening around. And if that part of your system is not good, you will never create a good team. My first basic essence I thought was of being a good leader is picking a good team. I've always believed cricket is a team game, and a captain, to an extent, is as good as his team. Yes, a good captain creates a team around him as much as a good leader, in most of your case, has people around him who will actually help them to get the team better, the work better. But I'm a firm believer that a captain is as good as his team. So for me, the first criteria when I became captain was not only to create an atmosphere, but also to make sure that I had the right players in my squad. You may not like everyone. I still remember Shane Warne and Steve Waugh, who played together for 15 years. And I hope there are not many journalists in this room. Shane Warne and Steve Waugh, who played most of their careers together. And they were two champions, but never the best of friends. But they found an atmosphere, a professionalism to make sure that Australia played the best cricket when they were together. Even now, when you hear about them, they will respect each other, but you could make out that they were never the best of friends. I remember asking Shane Warne one day at the Wankhede Stadium as a commentator, who do you think was Australia's best batsman? He said, Ricky Ponting by yards. I asked him, what about Steve Waugh? He said he was selfish. So I didn't want to ask him the next question, because I knew what the answer was. He only played for himself in a typical Australian manner, Shane Warne manner. And but I said, everybody says he was the best Australia had. He said, yeah, I don't believe it. But the essence of this thing is that there were two people who were greats, who were all-time greats in world cricket, found an atmosphere and an environment to create a good team. So identification of talent is most important. It's not just about your friend. It's not just about who will be a yes man. But I think the biggest challenge of leadership is about identifying the best guy, making him work under you, and make sure he delivers for you and the team. I firmly believed that when I was captain and I had this responsibility, I would say, along with the selectors, to pick the national side. And you must have read it in the newspapers, you must have known also, watching cricket in India over a period of time, that the captain has a huge say in picking the team. And you may have a coach, you may have a director, but at the end of the day, cricket is a team game, a leader's game. And I'm sure in your profession, it's about a leader's game as well. So for the most important thing for a captain was to identify the right person. And I firmly believed that I wouldn't hurry in picking someone, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing. You go through different processes. You have your HR departments in your office, in your companies, who decide who's the right guy to assist you in your jobs, in your projects. It's about